So I have a limited time, so I'm just going to answer one frequently asked question about this linked data stuff. You know, I've been going about saying that we should give people stars when they put government open data up there. We should give them one huge star for putting anything up, just for getting that data up there. We should put 1 star up there because so there's so many social issues you have to get around to actually, with yourself and maybe with the bureaucracy around you before you can get the data out there. 1 star for putting it up there. An extra star if it's in machine-readable format. It's not a scanned fax, but it's of a data table, but it's actually something like a spreadsheet. An extra star if it's not a proprietary format. It's an open standard. That's so you get 3 stars for putting it in. I'll include a CSV file. I'll give you 3 stars for CSV file is good, comma separated values. But to get the 4th star, you have to put it in linked data format. That means that each of the things you're talking about is going to get a URL, things starting with HTTP, and each of the properties about it, like the population of it and its area, if it's a city, for example, each of those will get a URL. That's putting it in the linked data format. That means people can point to it and say, that city actually, when they say Philadelphia, they mean the same thing as all these people mean in this data about Philadelphia. That allows people to connect to it. So that gets you 4 stars. You get the 5th star by actually doing the work of linking, realizing that you've got population, and putting a note in your data to say, when I say population, that it means the same thing as when these people say population. And that linking the objects, linking the properties, that's the way linked data works. And when it's linked up, then you can collect all kinds of different things, and it's very exciting. And one of the frequently asked questions I get then is, okay, but surely it's just another syntax, right? I put my data up, still doesn't mean that you can understand it. And the whole point is that with linked data, unlike any other technology to date, that's partly true. Yeah. You can use terms that I don't understand. But actually, what's interesting is when anybody communicates any information, typically they're using a mixture of different vocabularies. All the time we're using lots and lots of different vocabularies, and this is the key to how this linked data stuff works. For example, I was explaining this to somebody, came up over lunch, actually, and on the lunch table, we had the tutorials, we had these bag lunches, was this pack of chips. So this packet of chips is the label on this packet of chips is, in fact, what language is it in? Well, it says Kettle Classic Crunchy Potato Chips. That's clearly American English. If it was English, it would say potato crisps. But so it's not just in English. Though, when you turn over to the back of it, you'll see that on the other side, there's these nutrition facts. Now, those nutrition facts, those are in a language which is understood by pretty much by obviously the Food and Drug Administration, has got a lot to do with it, but the U.S. food industry. So this actually won't allow you to sell this thing in Europe, because the language is different in Europe, but all those terms, such as the serving size and the number of calories per serving and number of servings per packet, those are all things that everybody in the US looks for when if they're looking for the number of calories. Very, very standard packaging. So all that is understood. That's a little sub-language here, understood by the US food industry. Meanwhile, what about this thing down here, the UPC barcode? That UPC barcode is a language which is understood by all retailers, not just food industry, globally. It's a much smaller, simpler piece of information. It's just one number, but it's a number which you can scan, and any till anywhere in the world pretty much understands that language. And actually, there's other things like there's allergy information maybe on there, which a lot of people in the audience here won't even understand sometimes. I don't sometimes understand the allergy information, but some people really have to check that their allergy isn't on there. So here is a bag of chips, and the bag for it has been printed, and it contains all that information in these different languages. And some of them, at the bottom, there are actually a small number which says 110#7140A. And I don't understand what that means at all. It's probably something put on by the printer as a batch number. It's not about the chips, it's about the bag. And so when I get this bag of chips, do I pick it up and say, I'm not going to eat that? I don't know what 110#710A is. If I was an XML processor, I might. Because that might violate the schema. So if there was a schema, if I was making a schema, if I was using object-oriented technology to do this, I might say, well, this isn't a valid object, or this type of thing doesn't have that slot. But no, with a bag of chips, I ignore the stuff I don't understand. I see that it says crunchy potato chips. I give a quick glance at the number of calories, and I open it and eat it. So the linked data works like that. When you design a project using linked data, when you're sending data from one place to another, and every message that's sent in this application, or for example, every data file which you expose on the web by writing a little PHP script or something, write a little Python script, pulls data out of your machine, every line is probably taken out of a different vocabulary. So when you decide, instead of writing a great big schema, what you do is you look at all the terms out there, and the beauty of it is with the linked data, you cherry pick different sets of terms, different vocabularies that are out there. You'll find one which has already got start date and end date. Suppose you're recording data about security incidents of people entering buildings. Well, there's data, people have got terms. There are enough terms out there to allow you to describe people, made by other departments already. There are terms about buildings. You may have to invent a term about the particular incident, which is at a particular date, a particular person entered a particular building. You might have to define entered, but you know what? The date, when it happened, the start time, you can pick from somewhere else as well. So a very large amount of the terms you're going to use in your new application will use ontologies that other people have already developed. These terms, vocabularies, we call them ontologies, that people have already developed. Some of them, like the little number at the bottom, you'll throw on, and you won't have to discuss with anybody. You'll invent your own one, and that's perfectly fine to do that. You can invent your own one. So when you're doing that, this is a technical thing, if you like, but it has a huge social impact. It means that you can actually get work done in a real government environment with real departments. When you're sitting there in some group, well buried within some huge bureaucracy, you can just you can create a data file which, using other people's vocabularies out there, which may have been developed by other groups, other countries, they may have been developed by special interest groups, which are global but very, very narrow. That's how these terms get produced, because a small number of people get together and work out these terms, and you just cherry pick them and you use them, and you can go and do that without starting a great big committee, and without getting lots and lots of people together to define a new application. And the ones you define locally, that's okay. You can even define terms which you think other people ought to have. Suppose I wanted to actually put this data on the web in RDF, and I go to the FDA website, and I can't find any actual machine-readable list of what these terms are, like calories. So I might just look at it, type it up, type out a little file there in linked data, as a linked data ontology, stick it on the web, and write the FDA and say, well, I've made a set of terms. I've made a vocabulary for the nutrition tracks. It'd be really good if you did. But at the moment, I'm going to use this. And the great thing about linked data is if later they do, and they put one up at fda.gov, and I've got mine still up, I can actually say afterwards, I can say, you know what? My calories per serving, it means exactly the same thing as their calories per serving. And then all my existing data will work when people query using their terms, because that's how the system works. The systems can pick all that up. So it's not a top-down system. It's not a great... This linked data doesn't need everybody to agree on all the terms. Most of the terms and most of the data out there, most people don't understand, but there's a certain number of terms like start time and probably temperature and things, which pretty much most systems understand. Latitude and longitude are great because most systems will be able to put things onto a map. We've already got URIs for those. All these terms defined by URIs, so that you can look them up and see who owns them, and you can when you're doing your cherry picking, there are places like Swoogle, places like Sindice, that's its sort of Italian semantic index. Go out there. That's the various search engines where you can go. I'm looking for turn. I'm looking for start time. Show me all the things to do with start time, and you'll find a lot of different ontologies. You can pick the ones which come from a source you respect. So there it is. That is the most critical thing to understand about why doing things with linked data is fundamentally different. It's why doing stuff with linked data is something that is ground up. It is big, little pieces loosely joined. It's not a top-down thing. And now you'll know. If somebody comes up to you and says, you're using linked data? oh, is that semantic web thing? Doesn't that, you'll never get everybody, then the whole world to agree about a great big taxonomy of everything. That'll never work. You could say, actually, no, it's not like that. It's like a bag of chips. Thanks.